Welcome
If
to
you've ever
today's
had this
show. I've talked about how our society has now become corrupted by the goat. And people think it's a laughing thing. They're like, he's just looking for stuff that's satanic because their brains don't comprehend how the occult works. Mine comprehends how they work because I've studied them and I've learned to watch and look for all of their garbage, unfortunately. And it's not something that's consumed me, but it's something that obviously I see everywhere because it is everywhere. And you find yourself when you're awake, you're not looking for this stuff because even when you're trying to take a break or a breather, you see it all over. Unless you're out in nature, it's pretty much impossible not to see these things. So I've talked a lot about how they're just trying to normalize the goat, right? And we've all, I've gone on rants and sometimes laughing about how ridiculous it is. And this is just another example of it. And people still are just like, no, everybody just suddenly loves goats. Of all the animals and all these things at a time where the world is as satanic as ever, we see goat yoga. We see athletes and celebrities being called the GOAT, the greatest of all time, right? People don't realize why they're using GOAT. They're just like, Carl, you're wrong on that. Oh, yeah, because GOAT's been around for 40 years, the expression GOAT. Actually, it's a brand new term, which probably has only been around for the last 10 to 15 years, if that celebrities and the media have been using to describe the best of the best, calling them GOATs. We've just seen the GOAT everywhere. Well, now, what's next? We have GOAT robots. That's right, GOAT robots. What purpose does it serve? Well, it serves none. But they're just telling you GOAT worship. Kawasaki on the table here, showing you the new rideable robotic GOAT.
川崎重工が未来に提案する新しいモビリティの在り方です。
Oh, right. Now, is this discrimination against horses and other animals? Well, of course not. They wouldn't. Not that it is, really. It's ridiculous is what it is. But why don't people use their brain and say, why are they constantly using goats all the time? Why are we seeing goats in Baphomet sneakers, TV shows, movies, merchandise, Reebok, all of them, but just with goat worship constantly? Why do the Rolling Stones have goat soup on their cover? Why do all these celebrities wear goats on their necklace? All this stuff. And people just honestly make up excuses for these people and think it has nothing to do with satanic occult worship. 100 years ago, if I was living then telling people this stuff, they would totally understand and see it and agree. Does it say you have to be blind not to see it? But we live in a time period where people are so self-absorbed and so blind that they see stuff like this. And they're like, Carl's flipping out because there's a robotic goat. No, I'm not flipping out at all. I'm showing you this stuff because this is stuff that's in the news. This is stuff that's being promoted. And anytime any of these companies features a goat, it seems to be news for everybody to see and hear. What would the purpose of this thing be? Okay, first of all, why wouldn't you ride in a regular goat if you want to ride a goat? Right? Second of all, the speed that this thing is moving, wouldn't you want a cheetah? Wouldn't you want a lion or some other animal that's like known to be quick? Oh, we'll call it as a slow-moving robot. So what is the purpose of it? What is this? If you literally want to walk slower than a turtle, you get a goat robot? No. This is just them right in your face showing more goat worship. And of course, we know with transhumanism and robots what is coming in this world, which is already here. So Kawasaki is the rideable robotic goat, and they're calling it the electric car for wandering cowpoke. They're saying we're more or less still at the point of robotics where engineers are throwing anything at the wall and hoping to find a design that sticks. So, of course, folks, they were like just trying to throw something at the wall. How much money do you think that this thing costs? How many millions of dollars? All right, fine. I don't know exactly what it would cost, but let's say at least hundreds of thousands of dollars to put this together. At least. You got to say it's $1 million to build something like this, right? And if not, okay, well, very expensive. So they're like in a room and they're like, let's throw stuff at a wall and see if it'll stick. And someone's like, how about a goat? Let's make a goat and have the goat walk, or whatever accent they might have. And I don't know what accent that was even supposed to be, but you get the point. So they're saying, or at least that seems to be the best explanation for why Kawasaki created a four-legged walking goat, a species of goat known as the ibex, that can haul cargo or passengers, assuming neither one are in any type of a hurry. Oh, well, if that's the best explanation you have, is the fact that they threw stuff on a wall, and if you go through life thinking that that's how decisions are made at $1 million corporations, then you're a complete fool, and you're probably somebody who doesn't have a job because you're not capable of doing anything except sitting and playing video games and listening to the news and believing it's reality because you're completely brain dead. The reason that they built a goat, and they do these things, and they constantly show us the goat, is because it gets mainstream publicity, because it's normalization of goats. And they know what they're doing, and other companies know what they're doing, and they all love it because they're all in on it together. They're all Satanists. They all worship the goat, and they want you to worship the goat. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to come and you're going to worship this robotic goat, although there's enough zombies in this world to believe that, yeah, there probably will be some morons that do worship the goat. I mean, we're going to have morons that worship the beast, and that's pretty moronic and ridiculous because we already know what their fate is. So if they want to spend the eternity in hell with Elton John, having pitchforks rubbed up their rear, then that's fine for them, but not for us. You see, we live in a reality that's actually real, and you can see what people are doing, and you use common sense, and you ask questions, and then you figure out what's going on. In this case, you don't really even need to use common sense. We see the goat everywhere. We see the goat being normalized. We know the Satanists worship a goat. Connect the dots. Okay, what do you think? Kawasaki is just some company that some guy made in his garage, like they want you to believe with Mac and Apple and all these companies that are $1 trillion companies? I don't think so. Okay, all these companies are in bed together. You can even see the Kawasaki logo. Oh, that doesn't look like a 33 to you? 3 frontwards, 3 backwards? No, that doesn't? Well, it does to me, right? You see their logos always have their symbols in it. 33 is just another one, right? So they're saying about this normalization of a goat, and people will be like, it's not normalizing it. You're not going to see somebody down the highway on the goat. Right, and I'm supposed to believe that they put millions of dollars into making something for no reason whatsoever to make people laugh. And of course, they picked a goat of all the things, right? They could have picked a giant turtle. They could have picked a Sasquatch. They could have picked a gorilla. They could have, you name it, right? But it just happens to be a goat. And all we see everywhere is goats. Celebrities are telling you to put a goat, on your genitals and do yoga. And then people are just like, okay. And then they hear me and they're like, this guy's nuts. He's saying that this is satanic. I'm just stretching with a goat on my back. Oh, that's real normal. I'm the one who's crazy. You're the one who's putting a goat on your balls and doing yoga. I think maybe you're the one who's insane, that you don't realize what in the world you're even doing. How would this possibly help you exercise in any way, shape, or form? Having a goat's hooves shoved up your rear end while you're doing, downward dog or whatever these yoga positions are. I mean, it's so unbelievable. So Kawasaki does this. People come out and they're like, that's so cool. They retweet it. They talk about it. Mainstream media picks up on it, and everybody's just in on the joke of what this really is. And they're just like, isn't that weird but cool? Interesting news. And only people who will get it are people like us who constantly see the goat being normalized. It's like, what do you correlate the goat with? Remember the story I covered? If you're new to the channel, I covered it probably 2 channels ago, which was only like November. But the way my channels are getting thrown into a dumpster fire so fast, I can't remember which channel it was on, but I covered it in Georgia, how they were finding goats beheaded, floating down rivers. Hundreds of goats. People were filming it, showing. Of course it doesn't make national news because it's a satanic ritual that's being done. And they go, oh, I don't know, it's weird voodoo behavior, things like that they blame it on. They never give you a follow-up answer on why it's happening. Nobody minds the fact that it's contaminating the waters. Nobody minds the fact that these goats are getting slaughtered. Well, why are they getting slaughtered? Because they're being slaughtered in a ritual. And they're keeping their goat heads. I don't know. Do you think they worship goats? Yeah, they worship goats. Why is the goat the symbol of Satanism? The goat is mentioned in Scripture. In Matthew 25, verses 31 through 36. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them from one another as a shepherd divides his sheep from his goats. Those are verses 31 through 32, right? And we know, of course, when it comes to the goats, there's a certain group of individuals who claim to not be satanic, but seem to worship the goat, so much so that they use it as their logo and their mascot in the name of Satanism, but we're the crazy conspiracy theorists. So I'm not saying that this goat, this robotic goat, is something where you're supposed to be like, I can't believe they have a robotic goat. I'm saying that they constantly are showing you whose world this is. They're constantly showing you who they worship, and they're constantly getting people to inadvertently, whether they realize it or not, worship the goat. And the goat is being normalized over and over, from the greatest of all time to buying pet goats and doing yoga with them. And please do not write on the channel wall and say, I like goat milk. That's great. That doesn't mean you're a Satanist. I'm not saying that, okay? People get so, they listen, but they don't listen a lot of the times. And they're like, I have a farm of goats. Are you calling me a Satanist and my family? We raise goats. I'm not saying that, okay? What I'm saying is they normalize the goat on the mainstream, in the television, in the media, and they're letting you know who they worship. That's why they do it. So we have robotic goats. We have people even living as goats, as you might recall. It's just insanity, but it's goat worship continuing on. And I'm showing it to you because when things like this pop up in my feed, it's the first thing I think of. How could I not? How can I think that they just coincidentally picked a goat of all the things? They were like, well, we want something that's slow moving. Oh, and they couldn't pick any other animal, right? Or they couldn't make it faster with all the technology you have. They had to make it super slow. I mean, it's a goat. They're simulating a goat on purpose. They might as well be holding up the middle finger while they ride around on it and put a sign on their shirt that says, we hate Jesus and we hate Christians. Because that's what this stuff's all about. And the people who have money, power, and control, the ones that the zombies out there worship, they all worship the beast. And they're constantly showing you who they worship. It's just a matter of people want to see it or not. So, Kawasaki, kiss our rear ends with your ridiculous robotic goat. No one's interested. And no offense to the actual goats out there, the animals, the goats.